Should be live now. We confirmed that it's actually happening.
It says live.
It does say that, but
Look, Cooper, this is a process that you got to do when you're doing a live show. Okay.
I'm trying to see if it actually started because I have it pulled up on another page, and I don't see it yet. So I'm going to give it a second.
Now people are gonna have to sit through a whole minute of just this.
We're
beautiful faces.
We're good. Okay. Welcome to Survivor Michigan, Mazed and Confused postseason podcast. My name is Ian. I'm the editor for Survivor Michigan, the lead editor, I should say. We have a number of editors. I'm joined here today by a number of very special guests. I'll have them introduce themselves. We'll start off with Cooper, who you all should know.
What is up? If you don't know me by now, you should rewatch the season. I don't know. But yeah, I'm the Michigan host that's currently airing, no longer the Michigan host. But yes, you may have seen me once or twice on your screen.
Cooper's audio as bad as always. We're also joined today by Anders from Survivor Maryland and Andrew from Survivor at UVA. You want to start, Anders? Introduce yourself, and then we'll go to Andrew.
Sure. Hi, my name is Anders. I am the host of Survivor Maryland. I'm also the lead editor, I guess you could say, because some hosts can also edit. New thing for Michigan, but not for Maryland. And currently we have Survivor Maryland, major conflict coming out, but I'll talk about that more at the end of this. But I'm super happy to be here and say the things that Cooper won't about this season.
Awesome. We expect nothing less. Andrew?
Yeah, so I'm Andrew. I'm the current host of Survivor at University of Virginia. Also, I still go to the University of Virginia, so I've not graduated yet, still hosting. You won't see me on your screens probably for a little while, but yeah, we have our season going on right now, Wednesdays at 9. So exciting stuff. Check it out.
We're also joined today by the big winner, spoiler alert, but we have our winner here, Dylan. He won the season, but due to some polling results that will reveal shortly, he has to defend some of his honor tonight because the audience survey between Devin and Dylan actually had Devin winning with 52% of the vote. Dylan, what do you think about that?
I think we're gonna dive into it a little bit more this evening, but props to Devin. Like, I love that guy. We had a good time this season, but I'm prepared to prove that I'm still the winner of Survivor Michigan. Come to you live from Cooper's house, actually. Better Wi-Fi here than he has at his own house, apparently. But yeah, excited to talk about some stuff this evening.
We also had another question on our survey poll, which was the fan favorite player of the season. And with a commanding 38.8% of the vote, the winner of the fan favorite award was Aliza. So we're also joined by Elisa today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Elisa. Thanks for voting, guys. That's so very kind of you. Don't know why, but I appreciate it.
Oh, I could tell you exactly why you were the fan favorite, but I'm sure we'll get into it.
Okay. I mean, we had a number of people on that fan favorite poll. Aaron came in second, followed by Will with Aaron had 19% of the vote. Will had 12%. Dylan had 12%. Will had 12.6%. 12.6% of the vote. Dylan had 8.7%. Devin had 5.8%. And then the rest was kind of spread out between a bunch of other people. So I guess, Andrew, it seems like you have strong views on this. Should we just start there?
I mean, let's be honest. Aliza is the obvious fan favorite. The way that she played this game was good. She was strategically sound. She treated everyone very fairly. And, like, yes, there were times where Aliza was clearly on the bottom. She was at a disadvantage. And it was never like, fuck these people. They're garbage. I hate them. Like, I think just Aliza played this game in a way that's, like, enjoyable to watch. She's fun to root for. And there's never a problem. She's unproblematic. But Will, he's the most problematic person on this season. Every confessional was about how everyone else was wronging him personally. Like, there's no better example than I think it was the second episode. The guy with no alliances, no power, like Nick or whatever, is like, yeah, I think maybe I want to target Will. And Will's like, how dare he? I'm going to burn down his entire house. I'm going to murder his family. I can't believe anyone would do something so hurtful. It's like, Will, in the past 2 episodes, the things you've said about Aaron, who has done literally nothing, is insulting. And you think the fact one person has mentioned your name is like the end of the world. He's a piece of shit. Like, I'll say, I don't know him personally, but in the show, Will's a piece of shit.
Wow, I cannot wait for these takes for an hour and a half.
Okay. Andrew, what do you think? Do you think Aliza deserves this fan favorite honor?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was watching it, maybe like wrongly so, but I was like, okay, Eliza's like definitely winning this game. I was like, she's got it unlocked. She's made the connection. She's a threat, but not like a top of the pecking order threat. So I was like, yeah, she's got it unlocked. She's got good confessionals, fun player. But I gotta echo Andrews. I'm shocked that Will is the third place. I mean, I thought he was funny to watch. He had like super paranoid confessionals, and he's like the mad scientist, like his hair's going all over the place. But third fan favorite, especially like above Dylan and others, I think that's a little shocking, to be honest.
Yeah, where's Brady? Come on. People like Will more than
Brady was on
Brady.
there. He's on there. He got about 5%, I think.
Girl, I need to meet these people who are like, Will's the fan favorite, because they're crazy.
Well, what do you guys think, Elisa and Dylan? You were actually on the season. Were you surprised by this fan favorite award? Did you expect it?
I didn't expect it at all. I'm like so very flattered. Thanks both of you for what you just said. That's so nice. I think everybody, when they were in their confessionals, like some of these people who said more dramatic things were doing it for like the fun of being dramatic. Like, I don't think like we always, like when in person to person, like I didn't see that side of most of them. And when I've seen them after the show, I don't think that's exactly who they are. So yeah, I think things were like probably like played up for the camera, but like, I think it was, I don't know. Yeah, it was all fun mostly, I guess. So I don't know.
I want to, sorry, not to interrupt you, Dylan. Again, I don't know these people personally, so the things I'm saying are not meant to be personal attacks. But they are the feeling. Sorry, Dylan.
Yeah, no, so Elisa kind of hit kind of what I was going to say on the head. So, I mean, I also come from a different perspective where I'm still a good amount of friends with a lot of people from the cast. And so a lot of people are different outside of the show than in. And sometimes it's hard to differentiate what is show and what is personal feelings. And I think in Survivor, when it's always a power struggle and sometimes you are at the top of that power and you lose it, a lot of tensions are running high and things can be said that are regrettable. I will agree that some stuff was said for absolutely like no reason at all that shouldn't have been said. But like all in all, a lot of like people have like come together after the show and a lot of the friendships are still here. A lot of like the friendships are made and like it's been a great community all in all. I think Aliza is very deserving of fan favorite. Watching the polls throughout the season, she was always up there, at least in like top 1 or 2 the whole time. And so that goes to show that people were sticking with her throughout a lot of the show. I think Erin up there, like also very deserving. She battled back and she was extremely close. She won some very key immunity challenges. That's a very easy person to root for in those situations. So yeah, that's my take on the situation.
All right, so let's dive a little bit deeper into the sort of season as a whole. Andrew, you guys have any strong feelings after it ended? Do you like the way it shook out? Was there things you wanted to have happen differently down the stretch?
If you want to start, Andrew, because
I'll briefly say, like, just to touch. I'm interested in hearing what other people think, but going into Tribal Council, I actually thought Devin, kind of had it on lock based on what we had seen. I don't know. I felt like he was a little more commanding strategically. I thought he was like so horrible at Final Tribal Council, to be honest. I thought like it was. I mean, I have one quote, and I really liked watching him, but I have a quote here written down where he says, "Hold up, let me pull it up. I didn't have to make a lot of relationships. I don't think you have to waste time making relationships with people." And I'm like, how do you say that at Final Tribal Council? Like, you've played this whole season pretty strongly. Obviously, you have all the Sabis. I would think you have all the Sabis on your side, right? So you just need to pull in 1 or 2 votes from, Tafiti member. But just crazy. I mean, got to give props to Dylan because I think, like, he had like that joking level where everyone was like super comfortable. Like, Dylan, I think everyone was super comfortable with you, like cool with you. but it wasn't like the same level of joking where people are like, all right, like this guy's not serious, like he's not committed to the game, right? I think you like had a really good balance there. But yeah, Devin just, yeah, man, he sucked at Final Tribal. That was my end game opinion. Andrews.
Oh my God. Well, first off, as soon as Brady was taken out, I'm like, this is Dylan's game. I mean, because from what I saw just at that point, it was Erin basically had the best shot if she made it, but I don't think there was a chance she did. She didn't really have anyone who trusted her the entire game. I think the best move, and I don't understand why this didn't happen at Final Four. Why would you get rid of Cassie? Like, if you get rid of Dylan, Cassie's not going to work with Devin. No one's going to work with Devin. It's like, if you get rid of Dylan, Cassie will go with Erin, and then Devin's out. And I feel like it's just a smart move to do. But yeah, in terms of the final people there, Dylan had clearly run the game after Brady was out. Like, he had the close connection with Will, with Devin, with Erin, with Cassie, and he had a lot of good personal connections. He was easy to talk to. He was easy to listen to. And I feel as though Devin was such a game bot, like, which is crazy too, because he didn't do that much. Like, in terms of actual strategy and gameplay, he allowed other people to play it. Yes, he would get information from Dylan, but when you just don't use the information, you're wasting it. Like, congrats, you knew things, but you didn't do anything about it. I knew Elisa would go home, and you didn't save her. What's the point of knowing that if you still go along with something that's not going to work? It's stupid. People who go, I knew this would happen, but you didn't change it, are lazy and inefficient players who don't deserve the win. The truth is, Devin definitely had an easier shot at winning than Dylan by having an underdog story, and he threw it away by not playing the fucking game. He played Dylan's game, and Dylan, I congratulate you for creating a relationship cross-tribal that no one knew about, because that's the gameplay that got deserved.
Well, let's get Elisa's take here, because Elisa obviously voted for Devin, so I think maybe, I don't know, maybe she'd have some different feelings than you guys do about it.
Yes, I have like 1,000,006 things that just went through my brain of things I could say. So let's see if I can organize my thoughts. But I would say that Devin's personality definitely did not come across on camera and in the edit. And I think maybe he didn't submit many videos, or he didn't, like, just in his videos, he was very monotone or something. But like, as a person, like when I was interacting with him, he was always very present and talking about strategy. He was always fun. Like, I considered Devin a friend at the time. Like he would call me every day with things he wanted to say, and I'm sure Dylan will agree. Like, I definitely think he definitely played a more low-key game than a lot of us, but I think he was present throughout the game. I kind of agree, though, honestly, he didn't do a great job at Final Tribal Council. Obviously I did vote for him because I think I had seen his game so like thoroughly throughout every step of the way, like from week 1 until when I was voted out. And then after that, I was obviously rooting for him. And so I knew his strategy and I knew his game. And I think that's probably also a sense of loyalty and friendship is why I voted for him in the end. Whereas I didn't get to see Dylan's game until now watching it back. But I will say with Dylan's game, like, I've been so impressed with how you did and like how you like really ran the game. I feel like from my vote out on, like, you totally ran the game. And I think Dylan represents the season really well. And I think one thing that Dylan did super well that Devin could have improved on, kind of as what was said, is that Dylan, like, well, maybe we didn't have like a strategic relationship between like our tribes and people like that. Like, I mean, except with the exception of you and Devin. I think that like at challenges, you were always like super down to have fun and like talk and be funny. And so I feel like watching back this season now, you make a really good winner. So I'm pleased with it.
One thing I'll say.
Oh, sorry.
Oh wait, Cooper, you go first.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the one thing I'll add from like a production standpoint was kind of going in tribal, like Final Tribal. We knew it was gonna be fairly tight. I think Will and Ben's jury votes were the most up in the air. I think everyone else had kind of seen, like the Sabu people had kind of just, like Aliza said, they had seen Devin's game more, and the Tafiti people had seen Dylan's game more. But I think, yeah, Devin's answers at Final Tribal.
Well, there goes Cooper. This happens sometimes because Cooper's audio is just so heinous, and I don't know what's going on with it. When he comes back, he'll come back in a few minutes, I'm sure. I was gonna say I think something similar to what he was saying, which is that one thing I think is interesting is that the character of Devin as like the audience sees is not the same character of Devin that like the players were seeing when the game was happening. And so I think a lot of people, especially who weren't on Savu, just like legit had no idea that Devin was like even really thinking about the game super seriously at all. You know, and I think you can kind of see that in like how confused Will is during Final Tribal and stuff like that, that like they truly just had no idea that this guy was like really gaming in any sense before the end, and it kind of like freaked a lot of people out.
Also, I'll add really quickly, I feel like we should say that like none of us like had any inkling that Dylan and Devin had this relationship. Like that was so incredibly under wraps that like we didn't necessarily at the time know, like we didn't see all that strategy. And I think what Devin could have done is he could have talked about it the week that he voted out Aaron, like during tribal council. Because I think that like could have potentially swayed people. But like I think the fact that that was so hidden, like made us not like made, especially people that weren't on Savu, made it seem like Devin didn't have any strategy.
Cooper, you wanna finish up whatever you were trying to say?
I'm gonna assume you covered it.
Yeah, I think we were saying something very similar.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the thing about Dylan and Devin's game is they both played under the radar games for the most part. Like the people who played very obvious exterior, strategic, powerful games were Brady and Aaron. They were the threats to get out. Everyone knew it. I think the issue when you play a Devin or a Dylan game, and it's not just this season, but any season in general, it's about being able to express what you did. Like Aliza said, no one knew about that alliance. The alliances didn't know about the other person's gameplay. And I feel that Devin really screwed himself over just because he wasn't ever really expressing what he was doing. I think that in the very beginning of the season, I completely forgot Devin existed because he wasn't doing a lot in his group. He was very much just allowing other people to play it. So if Devin wants to win a game, he has to express at multiple points how he's involved, what he's doing, not just that he's at the bottom of things. Because if you come to Final Tribal and you say, I actually knew all of this and I did all of this, it's like, well, I don't know if I believe you because what's there to say? Because again, the moment that sticks out to me is when he said, I knew Elisa was going home. Number one, that's bullshit. I don't think anyone really knew she was going home. Maybe I'm wrong. But number two,
Dylan,
it's not
I think Dylan got something on that.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, so I'll talk to that in a second, but going back to what Elisa mentioned about Devin bringing up the relationship prior to tribal council, I've talked to like a lot of people about like what, like if that would have happened, and I think like looking back on it, like the will vote in final tribal council was kind of a key one that I thought that Devin was going to get. I think maybe a lot of the other viewers thought that he was going to get, especially because Will was pretty angry with me after that vote out. And I think that a lot of that was Will didn't have enough time to like marinate on what happened. And it was kind of a shock at Final Tribal Council when he found out about the relationship and Devin told him that they didn't have an alliance in the first place. So maybe if he brings that up at that Tribal Council and says that this relationship has been going on, yes, it's kind of a risk for the next week after, but now everyone in the jury knows and Will understands why the vote happened the way it did, that vote in Final Tribal Council could have gone a different way. And then Anders, what did you just mention again so I can touch on that?
The Elisa vote. He knew it was going to be Elisa.
Yeah, so when Devin and I talked about that situation, the whole goal for that week was Brady. And we talked about a bunch of different scenarios about what could happen. And ultimately, that stealing was to try to get Brady out. And we thought like the last resort thing that would have happened, because we talked about knowing that Aaron had her idol, was the last resort thing that happens is Aaron plays her idol and all of us, we all knew we're already going to vote for Aliza. Then Aliza goes home. And we took the risk assuming that that last resort option wasn't going to happen. And so like Aliza going home was not something that we knew was going to happen, but it was something that we speculated was a possibility if Aaron ended up wanting to play her idol.
Right. But
I'd just like to say really fast, if you wanted Brady to go home, you guys could have told us and we wouldn't even have to like loop Aaron in. Like we could have avoided the idol. Like I feel like that was a very avoidable situation if the goal was for Brady to go home.
Also, my point still stands. He didn't know Elisa would go home. He knew if Aaron were to play it, she would have gone home. But But that was not the plan. The plan that you guys wanted to do was Brady to go home. So simply just, I'm aware of this possibility. Bitch, you could say that about anything. That is true. Like, I am aware that this person could go home. That could be, fuck, you could say it about anyone. I'm just saying, like, you guys did not put in a plan to get rid of Aliza. That was not your plan. That's not what you wanted to do. Therefore, to claim credit about knowledge of it, it's like you didn't do anything to make that happen, though. That's not what you wanted. So
I will say from my perspective, though, if I, like looking at it for me, I'm either getting out Brady, who's a huge threat, or if Aliza goes home.
No, for you, it's an incredible move.
I'm okay with it, because then that means that from my outside perspective on that situation, Devin and Aliza are still very close. So if Aliza goes home, then I can have more full trust in Devin and I's relationship because his greatest ally goes home. Whereas like my greatest ally at the time was Cassie, and nobody was thinking about voting out Cassie at the time.
Right. No, it was a good move for you. I'm just saying Devin claiming that as some sort of positive to his game is not only wrong, but stupid.
Well,
and also,
I'd like to play a little devil's advocate here for a second. I think that I agree that Devin kind of said a lot of stuff at Final Tribal that people didn't it didn't come off well to people. But
like when he said, Will, yeah, I was just using our relationship was bad and a lie. Also, don't vote for me.
Well, what I will say is that I think that a lot of the stuff he said, if it is like portrayed slightly differently, actually does kind of make sense from the angle he was like. I think what he was trying to say, and that he knew Aliza was going to go home, wasn't that he knew 100% she was going to go home, but that he knew that if it was going to be one of them, it would be Aliza and it wouldn't be him. And ultimately, Devin's whole strategy was getting to the end with some combo of him, Dylan, and Cassie, and he didn't want to go to the end with anybody else, and he knew that from like basically the merge onwards. So I think from his point of view, while it's like not good for him that Aliza goes home because she obviously trusted him and stuff, ultimately he wants Brady out, he wants Aliza out, he wants both the Emilys out, he wants all these people out. So I think for him, he's like, ultimately he's fine with Aaron wasting the idol and not wasting it in the sense that then they can get Brady out the next week.
I agree. I think that's what he was going for when he was trying to say. I think the same thing with Will in Final Tribal Council. I don't think he realized that what he was saying was losing Will's vote, where in Will's mind it was. Like maybe like in hindsight, obviously it wasn't the right thing to say, but I don't think he realized that him being like, we weren't in an alliance was going to be the make or break situation.
I think it's a complete lack of perception from Devin's point of view. I think the truth is Devin wasn't perceptive of how people wanted to be talked to, how they wanted to be played with, or what his best move was. Obviously, he got to the end, but what he failed to do is understand how he could answer the questions in a way that would create the perception that he was good with the knowledge he was given and played well. He got there not because I felt that he played off everything well, but because he was able to give you information to make the moves that would happen. Like, I felt like, yeah, he didn't want Elisa to be there. She would beat him easily. He didn't need Will to be. Actually, Will could have beaten him. I wouldn't want that to happen, but Will could have. It's just like, I think he didn't understand what people wanted in a final tribal or from a winner. And because of that, his answers were terrible. And I don't think he played a game that was like better than really anyone's except for Cassie at that point.
Let's get a little bit into what you said there about Will. I'd like to ask, let's start with Aliza and Dylan and then Anders and Andrew. But do we think that there is a path from the final 5 onwards, so from the finale, for either Will or Cassie to have won the game? Obviously, it seems like Aaron, if she got to the end, maybe she would have had a good chance. What do you guys think about Will and Cassie? Did either of them really have a shot there to make it and win somehow?
Like, are you saying if they were in the final tribal council, would they have gotten votes? Or are you saying was there actually a way that they could have?
I don't know. I guess both. I'm saying if you're Will, who do you think Will up against at the end he could have won, and same thing for Cassie. Of those people who were left at that point.
Okay, I think, and maybe my perception of people is different than what others people would say, because I was under the impression that Will was playing a great game. So I think Will would have gotten votes from. I honestly think Will would have gotten votes from everybody on Sabu Sabu unless there was somebody on Sabu Sabu sitting there, sitting at Final Tribal Council. But honestly, if it was Will and Devin, I honestly probably would have voted for Will. So I don't know. And I think I think if it was I don't know. I guess it depends on who Will is sitting next to. But I think Will personally had a chance. With Cassie, I will say looking back on Cassie, I have a lot of respect for her because she started playing Survivor before she even started college. And frankly, I can't even imagine playing the game as a freshman because I feel like I was such a different person freshman year compared to who I was when I was playing senior year. But I think during the game, people didn't have like a great sense of respect for her that maybe she did deserve because nobody from my side, like I think Dylan can probably talk about Cassie more than I can because nobody from our side saw Cassie even like playing the game. I remember like there was a challenge that she like didn't participate in and it was like right after I was voted out and I was like so mad. I was like, oh my gosh, you're so lucky to be in the game right now. I can't believe you would sit out a challenge. And so I don't think that Cassie could have won, but I think we'll have a chance.
Dylan, what do you think?
I think Will definitely had a chance. I thought he was playing a really good game. And then he started scrambling after Aliza went home, I think. So I didn't feel like he had a lot of control after that, but I think he still had because I think he won that next week, not the week after, but the week after that in the cup stacking challenge. So I still think like his strategic game was very good for a while, and then he proved himself like in a challenge, like that was a nice move, and then he was doing the best he could to make alliances down the stretch. So I think like Will had a very good case at Final Tribal Council. I think Aaron probably had the best case, and I think like if Aaron could have won that like final immunity challenge, she definitely could have won that final challenge. I don't think Cassie could have beaten Aaron like she mentioned. I think that there are, and like going back and like watching the season, I can see that Cassie did have like talks and relationships that I still didn't like know about during the game at the time, which I can understand like people from an outside perspective are like how much did she do? And I think that her speculation about me and Devin down the stretch, which I had no idea about, and she hit right on the head, that could have been a huge turning point if she actually managed to get Aaron to vote one of us out. And I think that in that mind, like she was still strategic. She still, for the most part, understood what's going on, but I think she had to make some different plays earlier. And I can't really speak to a lot of the game before because I was like, Sarah was my biggest ally before Cassie. And so Cassie and I were like still talking and we still like had an alliance. Cassie was kind of playing the middle between me and Sarah and Brady and Chloe at the time. And so Cassie and I didn't get as close until like the demerge when we created that tribe that Brady ended up winning. So I mean, for her, it would have been tough, but I think if she would have made some like similar, like maybe backstabbing moves down the stretch, like people could have had more respect for backstabs for her because maybe that like touched to like the game that she could have played down the stretch. But I still think it would have been pretty difficult.
I know Andrews is going to have some strong views, so let's go to Andrew first and see what he thinks because I feel like Andrews is going to go off on a whole Will thing here, I expect.
Right. So I think that the problem with Will and Cassie is that they had some rough pre-merges in my opinion. I think, but for opposite reasons. I think Cassie was seen as like not playing enough. Like I think at the Savu Tafiti Joint Tribal Council where Savu's like, you didn't even reach out to us, like you didn't talk to us, like how are we going to foster a relationship? And she's like, I just didn't have time. Like, I'm sorry, I don't have time. So I think Cassie always had this perception where she wasn't playing hard enough and that followed her into the merge. I think Will had this perception of playing too hard and being too paranoid all the time. And I thought he cleaned it up at the merge. So I honestly thought that Will had a solid chance again, or I think Will beats Cassie. I think if he's at Final Five, he needs to put Devin on the jury at some point so Devin can speak to Will's like reformed game because Will maybe still had that paranoid, persona about him. But honestly, I personally did not see a situation where Cassie comes away as the winner. Like maybe she has a shot against Devin, but even then, like I really don't think that she can win it. But I think Will beats Cassie. I think Will gives Devin a run for his money. Probably doesn't beat Dylan. Definitely, I don't think he beats Aaron. So It would have been interesting to see.
Cooper now
Absolutely.
with a third
I-
location coming back in here.
I'm hoping this one works better. Actually, that one I hopped off because I'm using my phone and somebody literally called me and I was like, cancel.
All right, we'll get
But
your
it
take on
didn't,
this after we go to Anders.
So it's obviously hard. As a viewer, I have very clear perceptions of like what I didn't like about these people and why I wouldn't want to give them the win. For Cassie, I don't know how the Savas felt, but for me, the moment that she said, I'm sorry, it wasn't that she said, I'm too busy. It's that she was defensive about it. Like, I'm sorry I didn't have time to talk to you. I have a job. Like, everyone has a fucking life, okay? Everyone's playing the same game with the same amount of responsibilities at a certain level. Like, you cannot use an excuse like that as to why you couldn't meet with them. Just say you saw no value in doing it. It's still an asshole thing to say, but at least it's more honest. Like, to me, it shows a profound lack of understanding of the game you're fucking playing, okay? You're all giving time to it. And if you're not going to give the amount of time to build the relationships and make the moves, fine, good. You're not going to win. That's the trade-off. So for me, it's like, no, Cassie will not win this game unless suddenly she like fully finds an idol, takes out Dylan, takes out Aaron. She's like, actually, I've been running this game. Like, I don't know, do some crazy shit. She wasn't going to do that. Cassie didn't put in time in this game. If she like, it wasn't shown in the edit because I don't know if there was a lot of that there. She made relationships with Aaron and with Dylan, and that's about all I saw. And I don't think she played that good of a game, and I'm still hung up about her saying like, I just didn't have time. And Will, watching him was just a very difficult thing to do because Will was not only like constantly mean to people, but he was also a victim all the time, which is insane because he had so much power. I remember it happened literally after he got outed, like the text of him, Ben, and Emily saying those things. And to Elisa said earlier, like, that was just a confessional. They're playing it up. They had text conversations that were just mean. Like, that's not playing it up. They were being assholes. Like, I don't care if it's for a character. You're being an asshole when you bully someone in the game because they're a person. He not only goes right after he's outed for it, he's working with Austin, and he says as a confessional, I'm going to shoot myself if I have to work with Austin. There's no reflection on what he's been doing or how that is. Like, it's insane. You just get outed for being an asshole, and the first thing you say is, fuck, I have to work with this piece of shit? Like, God damn it, Will. No, he was being an asshole. I'm going to say
Will
it.
he was crying and stuff after those emails came out.
Good. He should be crying because he's a fucking asshole for saying those things. Like, I don't feel any sympathy for him. Like, truly, he deserved to get that outed for being a piece of shit. There is a level in this game of like being cordial with these people. I understand the emotions. I have been a host. I've been a player. I've seen how it works. But the level that he took it to in this game goes beyond all of that. This was a personal game to him, and it's a little ridiculous sometimes to listen to him whine. Like, if I were on the jury, I would never give him my vote. In terms of actual strategic game, I will lower my anger right now. He played fine. I think that he did a good job of slipping against Ben when he needed to. Not that that was his decision. It was more Emily pushing him to do so. I just don't think that he had a real good shot at the end game because I don't think there was a chance in hell Aaron ever works with him. And I just don't think he has enough ability to tear Dylan away from Devin or Cassie away from Dylan. I think he really would need to win out to get to the end, and I think the only reason he would win is because people didn't see how nasty he was. Anyways, I'm a big Will stan, if you can't tell.
This is fascinating. I'll say full disclosure. I mean, I think Will would be my fan favorite if I were to vote for somebody. I would have voted for Will just because
I'm fucking leaving right now, Ian. That's the
for TV
rudest
purposes.
thing you could ever say.
Will is like he's like the gift that keeps on giving in terms of like TV content. I mean, you watch this dude's confessionals and you're just like, this is the kind of content you can't even make this shit up. And so for me, at least personally, he brought a level of drama to the season that it elevated just the sheer entertainment value. And at least when you have to watch hundreds of hours of these confessionals, you appreciate someone who's like funny to watch, at least when, you know, some of it is just people going on and on about whatever, like kind of honestly boring stuff they're doing sometimes. But Will, he always made it entertaining. Cooper, what do you think?
Briefly to defend him also, like in the weeks prior to when that email came out, Will had told me that he felt really guilty about things he said about Aaron. And I know, like, I'm not defending anything he said or anything that anybody said. And I think the fact that it even was released at all was like super wrong. But like even like before he like faced consequences because it came out, like he had repeatedly told me how bad he felt and how he actually did genuinely like Aaron. But again, like I'm not defending anything that was said, but like I do actually genuinely believe he felt bad, not just because he was caught, but because he actually did feel bad. So I'll just say that.
But did he apologize to Aaron before it came out? Did he ever make a moment to say something?
I mean, I also don't want to say like everybody's like talked bad shit in their lives, but again, like it's not right. But everybody's done it.
Look, I get it. Like,
defend it. Like it's really.
I know you're not defending it. I'm going to make it clear here because this did irritate me on a personal level. Like, this was not, oh, Aaron's irritating in the game. Like, she's hard to work with, whatever. It was like based on nothing. They had such a great hatred for Aaron, and it wasn't just like we don't like working with her. It's like she's so annoying. Why is she so mad someone voted for her? It's like it was truly too much for no reason, and it was so unprompted that it just felt like you are bullying this girl for no reason. And in terms of invasion of privacy, good. I'm glad it was leaked. I honestly think that is the best thing that could have happened because that happened after the season. Way worse. I think it nipped it in the bud and it said, "Hey, look, you're a piece of shit for doing this. Maybe change." I don't have any sympathy for it. I just think it's bullying.
No,
Anders, how would you feel? Sorry.
I just think like I think that's all really fair. Like it definitely crossed a significant line. And I'll like quickly chime in that Erin's like an amazing girl and we all love her. So yeah.
Erin also isn't, but she's not even difficult.
Anders,
Anders,
Anders, how would it make you feel if I told you that in our poll we had a question of besides Matthew, who else would you want to see return for season 4? And Will is currently the 5th highest rated person on our poll out of all the people who have played on season 1, 2, and 3. Will is currently ranking number 5 of who people would want to see return. Does that rattle you?
Because it's a recency bias. I think they go, I remember Will. I remember Will too. I constantly think about how much I dislike him.
He's absolutely going to be there. He's absolutely going to be in season 4, Anders.
God damn it. He's in so much of these episodes.
Okay, Cooper, somebody actually asked an interesting question that I thought in the comments. Keith Sims is asking, well, Cooper felt about all this in real time, you know? The Will,
if you click on the comment, it'll show up here.
Oh, can I do that? Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's his question. He wants to know Cooper felt all this in real time, LMAO. So let's hear it, Cooper. What'd you think?
It was a roller coaster, like all season, especially with like Will himself was just a roller coaster of emotions. Like he got so into the game that like you see it come out in like not the best way sometimes and how he's like treating people. But then, I think we cut some of this, but there was going to be some of him just like bawling in the show from like how bad he was also feeling. So it was like Will was just a roller coaster himself that whole season. But how production felt about it was we obviously felt horrible for Aaron while this was all happening. It was a really tricky line to maneuver about that maybe some of these things were crossing the line in terms of like getting too personal and being outside the game, but not wanting to like interfere in the game itself because it was still a lot of interpersonal relationships that were being affected by all of this. And then it all obviously boils over when Ben releases like all the text messages. So at the time, I think production actually felt good about the emails or the text being released in the sense that now it's at least all out in the open. Like now people know what people have been saying about each other, like behind their backs. And so at least people were being less fake. But it was, I don't know. I think that mostly covered how production felt about it, but it was a lot. This season in general was just like, oh my God. When you have so many huge characters like we did, like we cast 18 just big personalities, like it's gonna boil over like this sometimes, but I still like to this level, we just did not expect that. But it made it entertaining, so it made good TV.
Aaron is asking us to show this comment that she posted, which says that she her feelings in the moment are way different than they are now. She generally thinks Will is a good guy. So I think that's a good thing for everyone to know because I think that is definitely true. I also think Will is a good guy, and I'm sure we all think that.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's.
I guess last thing I wanted to touch on with this was so and we say this on a lot of the podcasts we go on here, but like so much of season 3 especially like got better after the season, like after people were out of like the competition and the heat of trying to win, like everybody mostly was able to like step back and be friends and realize, hey, like we're not competing against each other anymore, like we're cool. So for those wondering like how everything is now, I think people mostly feel good about each other. Although Dylan and Aliza, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think that's true. But have been off campus for a year. So I think that's true.
Yeah, I would say for the most part, almost everybody's pretty cool with each other. And I will speak to the fact that like the whole like Survivor Michigan community as a whole has been like great. Everybody from seasons 1 through 3 has all like interacted pretty well, and everyone's gotten along, and there's not a lot, if any, animosity at this point. If any, it's very behind the scenes, and everyone's kind of taking a step back to realize like it's a game, it's a show. There's a lot of entertainment value.
Yep. A lot of very competitive people that we cast, especially in the season, and I think you saw that play out. So, yeah.
Going back a little bit to, we were talking about the Elisa vote out a little bit earlier. Elisa, I'm sure you think about this often. What do you think could have been done differently? How do you think you could have maneuvered around that and done something different to have a different outcome?
Honestly, I thought this through 1,006 times, and I genuinely feel like I probably would have been voted out. Like, I think I was perceived as the biggest threat amongst the people that I was playing with. Like, I feel like, I don't know, like, Will and Aaron had a relationship for a long part of the game. Like, I feel like maybe I could have really tried to get in good with Aaron even more than I did. I just genuinely don't think it would have changed her mind. Like, I think she was, like, at that point very committed to flipping, and I think that I was possibly perceived as the biggest threat on my tribe, and I think it would have been and like the only thing that could have been done different is maybe if Dylan wanted to make that move against Brady sooner and came to us. But like I very much understand why Dylan was like, no, let's get out Aliza and then we can get out Brady. Like that makes sense to me. So I've thought this through like so many times. And honestly, I just feel like the only thing that we could have done differently is if Will hadn't stepped out of freaking bound in that challenge, maybe we would have won the balloon stomping thing and had immunity that week. But that's the only thing, really.
Andrew, do either of you have any really lingering questions, any deep-seated mysteries from the season you've been wondering about? We have the host, we have the winner, the fan favorite, everybody.
Well, like I wanted to briefly, since we're like on the subject, Dylan, you were talking about how like you guys saw Aliza going home as a possibility, but you would have rather had Brady go home at that vote. So let's say Brady does go home, Aliza stays. Was your like personal plan to like just ride the middle line with Devin, or would you have gone to Sabu Sabu and worked like pretty closely with them?
Yeah, no, I definitely wasn't gonna go over to Sabu Sabu at that point. I was gonna continue to ride the middle line, because there was like the relationship that Devin and I had, and like the fact that we'd been talking for like, I want to say like two or 3 weeks before this happened. Like I felt very strongly that there wasn't going to be a connection break in this point. Like we were both benefiting strongly from the exchange of information. And we knew that we wanted to take each other to the end. And so I felt that even though like getting Brady out that week, I knew that like he would at some point be willing to get Elisa out, and we were both maneuvering votes so that neither of us were on the chopping block at any point. And I think we both realized that the under the radar game that we played, even though like the move that I made at that specific tribal was not under the radar at all, that we felt strongly enough that we could keep shifting the votes to like different people away. So after that week, obviously this is all hindsight 2020, but Brady goes home. I personally would have liked to get Elisa out the next week. I mean, like from an outside standpoint, I thought of Brady as the biggest threat and Elisa as the second biggest threat at that point. I mean, like, which speaks to what I said earlier. I was fine with Elisa going home that week. and she was playing a very good game. And a lot of it was I didn't really understand what she was doing behind the scenes, but I knew she was doing it very well, which is why I saw her as a threat, because I didn't understand exactly what was going on. And I think a little bit of that spoke to how Devin and Eliza's relationship was still strong. And so he didn't want to give too much away. And in the same way that Cassie and I's relationship was still strong. So I wasn't giving a lot away about Cassie still, because if for some reason Devin ends up turning on me or anything at some point, I still want to be able to have some sort of crutch to stand on, some sort of thing to go back to if that turns away, where I'm not just out in the water and I'm screwed basically.
Something funny also is right before the tribal council, I was voted out, I ran into Devin in Angel Hall where we were having tribal council, and I was like, Devin, I have a really bad feeling. And he's like, no, you're totally fine. What are you even worried about? The plan's gonna work. So it was really funny in tribal council when he was like, I knew Elisa was going home. I was like, what?
Also, what I don't think got showed was and I was going to vote Brady, and after the rock thing happened, he turned to me and he's like, well, what do I do now? And I wanted to save face almost in that moment. And I was like, let's still stick with the plan. I was just doing this personally to save myself for next week. I was just trying to have immunity for this week and next week. And I actually did end up voting for Aliza, even though I still wanted Brady out, which honestly, if Aaron didn't use her immunity idol, could have ended up in a tie, and it could have been extremely weird. So it in that other sense, that, and I don't even know, maybe Cooper, Ian, you could speak on, I don't remember exactly if all of those votes got read. So, but I think Brady still genuinely knew that I still voted for Aliza, because I was still okay if either of them at the time went out. So if Devin ended up wanting to vote Aliza at that point, which obviously he didn't, or if anyone else did, there was still that chance of saving face for stealing the idol, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. In terms of what got read, all 4 Brady votes got canceled, and then 3 out of the 4 Aliza votes got read. So people knew that it was 4-4 and who voted where basically after that. Yeah.
Cooper, this guy has an interesting question. What do you think? This guy lives in Connecticut. If he applied for Survivor Michigan, would you let him on? You'd love him, Cooper.
I no longer run Survivor Michigan, so that's not a question for me anymore, actually. But
okay.
No, to be completely frank, we've been pretty straightforward about no, you do kind of have to be at Michigan or basically able to be on campus. Although I don't know, if we
so
do
just
a
apply
Zoom,
to Michigan State and you can be on it too.
Yeah, sure.
Anders, do you have any pressing questions for these?
Yeah, I do.
Players?
Aliza, obviously, this is going way back, but you probably have the best perception of it. Going all the way back to the mixed tribal council, the rocks happen, Andrew goes home. From what we saw, Andrew basically had set himself up really well on that tribe. Was this the truth? And if Andrew had stayed, let's just throw out if Andrew had stayed in the game, how would you have worked with him? Would he be a target? What do you think would have happened?
Yeah, I think Andrew would have been a huge target. Yeah, well, there's a couple of things I can say, I guess. First, yes, I definitely would have worked with him. I think Andrew and I did have a good strategic relationship before he was voted off. I remember the very first minute that, he's the one originally when we pulled into groups of 3, he pulled me in and he's like, I can tell you want to play, let's work together. And then as we were walking away from that challenge, he's like, you and me, let's talk, after this, we can talk things out. And so I feel out of the gate, yeah, Andrew and I had a good relationship. And had he stayed in, we definitely would have, that's funny. Had he stayed in, I think we definitely would have worked together. I think I liked Andrew at keeping him around because I thought he was a good meat shield. I also think at the time that he was trustworthy to Sabu Sabu, I definitely thought that maybe everybody on Sabu Sabu, I would say, felt super, super loyal. And I was never super crazy worried about them flipping on me. Obviously, I didn't see the Devin thing coming, but I think Andrew was somebody who I couldn't have felt that way about. Like I wouldn't have felt like totally like good with Andrew in that sense, but I definitely like at that point in the game, like I had no idea he was thinking of not going to rocks. Like I thought he was like, yeah, we're picking rocks. Like I didn't realize he had this plan and that he was thinking different things. But yeah, he would have had a good shot in the game had he stuck around also.
Can't wait for him in season 4. I'm almost positive he'll be brought back. They would not include a clip of him going so all-stars if he wasn't coming back, but you don't have to say anything. Dylan, my question for you is, obviously you won, which is incredible, but there is the the fans think that Devin should have won.
Well, let's be clear. It was 52% to 48%. This is a very
I'm just saying what you
here.
said, okay? I'm not making this up. If you could, what do you think you could have done? What's one thing you think you could have done to make it so certain that like it's a Dylan victory? Dylan deserves this win. Obviously you won, but if there's something you could change, what would it be?
I think just off the top of mind, if I could have won probably one immunity challenge, at least one immunity challenge by myself down the stretch, it definitely would have looked better.
Like if you won the final immunity?
Yeah, if I would have won the final immunity, I think it would have looked better, or even like one or two before that. Obviously, that would have changed a lot of, like, could have changed the outcome of the game. But I will say that, like, when I applied, I hadn't watched Survivor at all. And so I watched Pearl Islands and another season in preparation before the first week of Survivor Michigan. And so, like, I didn't have a lot of experience about, like, what I should be doing, like, what's the strategy move. I just knew that if, like, as like an athletic person, I could be a big target easily down the stretch. And my strategy going into it was to lay low. And I think a lot of the reason it could have been like I was playing a lot of the underrated is I didn't do that much pre-merge, and a lot of other people were speaking to cross-tribe alliances. They're making more alliances early on, which I see a lot more watching the season back. And part of my strategy was I didn't want to be the main guy on Defeaty, but I also wasn't doing enough to secure relationships with other people at the time pre-merge. I wasn't a big pre-merge player, and I think that spoke to a lot of why a lot of people didn't know what my game was. I didn't have a chance to basically like display that at merge because I had to play a very specific game at merge, and I continued to play the under the radar. I didn't want to feel like a challenge threat. And so I think that I could have not winning the first 2 or 3 challenges could have been enough to not act like a challenge threat. But at the same time, I didn't want to win like 1 or 2 in a row. And then all of a sudden, like, okay, maybe this guy has a shot, and then become the target, become somebody like Brady, who was a relationship threat early on, because a lot of people knew that, like, I guess it's not like necessarily new, but
I mean, people were throwing themselves at Brady.
Yes, and I will say, like, people knew that like Brady had a good relationship with people, but I don't know exactly to what extent people knew during the time. And I understood that like Brady was very smart, he was athletic, and he was very personable, and so like I saw that as a threat early on, and I didn't want to play that exact game. But I will admit that his like pre-merge game, where like he started some of these cross-tribe alliances, he and Ben like created some of the Tafiti and Tormenta cross-tribe alliance, was like a phenomenal part of like his game, like pre-merge. Like I know how safe he felt, and so like that probably would have helped me have like a better chance at tribal council for those reasons, I guess.
Just jumping in here real quick. If you have any questions, people watching this, for anybody on here, put them into the chat. We will try to get to them over the next couple of minutes. Going back to Anders and Andrew, besides the 2 people here, I would say, is there anybody else on the season who you know especially really enjoyed watching during the show?
Oh, enjoyed? Shit.
Ben and Will.
Yeah, enjoy.
Aaron,
Anders.
for sure. There's not even a second moment where I think it sucked because I like Aaron and I think she played in the beginning, so poorly, just all the time. Every time she'd tell them information, I'd be like, God, no, Aaron, they're awful. Stop. But I think once Merge came around, everything got leaked and she started working with Brady. She really upped her game. I was incredibly proud every time she succeeded. Brady is a king. Brady is he's a great player. He's super charismatic and fun in confessionals. He was never cruel to anyone. He didn't wear a shirt. I mean, what a god king. When the Gay Straight Alliance was named, I had to text George and I went, which one is the gay one? And then he told me he was Ben. I'm like, fuck. But no, I think Brady is an absolute king. I loved Emily L. I know she was only in it for 2 episodes, but what a queen! You shouldn't have gotten rid of her, Dylan. How dare you? The meme queen of the season.
We got a question here from Keith Sims again. I think this is a good one. For Aliza / Dylan, how do you think the game plays out if there's no split double tribal council at 9 and 10? So basically, if instead of the double tribal, when there was still 10 of you left, that was when Emily P and Emily B went home. But the emails still come out. So this is right after the emails, but everyone's at one tribal together. What's going to happen?
Shall I go first? Okay. I think that, yeah, I don't think it would have been one of the Emily's going home that week because I can't remember exactly how the numbers were, but I feel like we were in the clear majority. And so I feel like we knew that Aaron had an idol also, like that was pretty common knowledge, I feel like, amongst players in the game. And so I feel like we would have hoped, like maybe have tried to take out like Brady or Dylan or something, barring Aaron's idol. I don't think anybody on Savu Savu felt particularly favorable towards like the contents of the email. And so I feel like we would have wanted to have maybe like deviated from those players eventually. But honestly, I don't really know. I feel like Emily's probably have a lot to say about that situation. But it's not one of the situations, I guess, that I've thought back pretty differently. I guess I've thought back of it in terms of like, oh, maybe had that not happened, I could have gotten further. But I don't know. Yeah. Dylan, all you?
Yeah, obviously that week helped. I mean, I will admit, like the demerge like did screw over the Emily's, but at the same time, like there was a little bit of a strategy involved where Cassie, Brady, and I, which I don't think was shown on camera, were just like, okay, Brady, if you go win the challenge, we'll get you a team. We'll have 2, and then if you win, we'll have majority no matter what. And so our plan was to immediately drop and try to go get the same buffs. So I think that like we did like still during the demerge like have like a better strategic plan than like what the majority had figured out at the time. But I completely agree with Aliza. Like they had a huge majority going, like if there wasn't a demerge, and there would have had to been a lot of like strategy and relationship. There would have had to been some swings involved. I think I know Brady was definitely a bigger threat than me at that point. So maybe I could have gotten like a 2-week buffer to try to figure something out, especially with Devin. That was like, I want to say was growing at the time. So maybe that could have helped keep my name out of the mix. But at the same time, like one travel doesn't go our way or without Brady, all of a sudden, if Savu Savu doesn't feel like they want to flip, like they could run it and it could be a Tormento Savu Savu butting heads at the end. So, yeah, I mean, that's just my outside perspective on the situation.
And I'll like second like what you just said about how I think you guys really did have a great strategy going into that. And we like clearly didn't take our time to like think it through well enough to like come out positively from a demerge situation. So it is what it is.
Yeah, the one thing I do want to add from a production standpoint there is I actually believe that Will and Emily and even Aaron were in on some kind of move to take out Austin. Ian, maybe correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yeah, I think there were a few different things discussed that Tormenta 100%. This was the whole thing with the week where it was you guys were going to vote out Ben or voting out they wanted to, who do they want? They didn't want to vote on Ben. They wanted to vote on Brady. You guys wanted to vote on Brady, and Tormenta wanted you to vote on Ben. And basically their whole plan was once Ben, it was exactly what you guys were afraid it was once Ben's out, we'll just flip back with Tafiti. So I'm pretty sure they were going to flip and vote out like Austin or something like that because, yeah, Will had been saying for like weeks he wanted Austin out, and they felt like Austin wasn't going to like work with them, whereas they thought that Aliza and Will and even Devin, I think to an extent, were more likely to like keep doing stuff where they just like Austin was straight up telling them he was only going to work with Savu Savu.
Which is true. Austin was not going to work with anybody but Savu ever.
And I forgot that whole thing was very real. They had been pushing for weeks to get rid of Austin. And I feel like at that vote, they did want us to vote. Like they want us to vote at Austin ourselves. And so I feel like that was something that we would have had to grapple with. So it wasn't very black and white. You're right.
Yeah, I think Austin was going to go, and I think Savu was in a little bit of trouble at that point, even without the demerge. But it probably does. It still plays out sort of differently because Will and Elise, like obviously you and Will still want a team back up at some point. So
Yeah, final 10, Savu finally was in trouble.
Yeah, I think Savu Savu became like and we like tried to like make it seem like we weren't as tight, but like the fact, like there was no way the four of us were getting much further together. Like there just was no way. Like we understood that everybody thought that it was too tight in the alliance. So yeah.
In a game with an alliance of 12 versus a tribe of 6, Savu Savu really had such an advantage in this game, and I think they needed to be taken out.
Andrew, seems like you had something to say.
Yeah, I wanted to quickly ask Aliza. So, like, obviously, Savu Savu has like this very visible bond, and Austin is like constantly propelling, like, oh, I love Savu Savu. Like, this is my family. Like, I'm never gonna break away from them. But in like the Savu Savu like hierarchy, I kind of got the impression that he was like at the very bottom. I thought that you, Devin, and Emily B were, talking more strategic game. And would the plan have been to cut Austin first of that group if you had to, or would you have kept him simply because he had like this undying loyalty to you guys?
I would say yes, kind of what you touched on. There were a lot of like, first I'd preface that Austin's a great dude, love Austin, but and Austin knows I love him, but I think there were pros and cons to him, as if he was like so loyal. Like he was like the one person who I never worried about betraying us. Like even in times when I was like, well, maybe I'm like Emily B was like, I'm a good liar. And I was like, what if she's lying to me? But like with Austin, like I never worried about him. For on that hand, he was someone who I wanted to keep around as long as possible. But on the other hand, like for weeks, Will had wanted me to vote him out, and like I think Emily P had wanted him out and whatnot, and they didn't like having us that tight. And he's somebody who like, if we had said like, of course we're not voting you out, like I think he would have believed us. Whereas like maybe the other three of us like would have been a little like suspect. I don't know. Like I don't know how to say this, I guess, but so I don't know. Like I know I was thinking of like, if I have to cut Austin, like I guess I'll have to cut Austin. But also, like, on the other hand, like, Austin did do a lot for our alliance. Like, having him be that loyal was really valuable. When we did swap tribes, he was, like, right away completely willing to give Devin and I his advantage, even though, like, he was in a horrible spot on his tribe that first week. So there was a lot of good things about him, too, that he helped us with.
Andrew, I want to quick ask, what are your thoughts on Austin as a player and a person? Character, whatever.
I think it's interesting. I feel like in college Survivor, not too often do you have this person that's like I am so for the team. I'm not going to throw away like these bonds. And he had like just a true love for Savu Savu, I guess. And maybe it came with like the initial rock draw where he was like, all right, these people are like with me. Like they don't want to get rid of me. Like I don't want to get rid of them. But by the end, I was a little tired of it. Just as a viewer, I thought it was like a little melodramatic, some of the things that he would say. Like when Emily P got voted off, his like voting confessional is like, I love you so much as a player. Like, I can't believe I have to do this. I feel so bad. And I was like, just hoping, I was wishing, I was like, please, like, show a little bit, like show some strength here. Like, this is your move, like prove that this is your move, that you want this person to be gone. I feel like he never really did that. I'm not sure he would have fared well in a final tribal council against anyone. That being said, he did seem like a very like nice and genuine person. And like, I didn't think any part of his personality seemed fake.
One of my favorite jump cuts in season 3 was Austin's whole voting confessional about Emily P, where he's going on and on about how amazing she is and all this, and then it cuts to Emily P after being voted out, and she's like, Austin's a joke, like he's not going anywhere, he's toast, like all this. I was like, that just is unreal, like how hard Emily P was working him those last few days to try and like guilt him into not voting for her.
Emily P being manipulative of good people couldn't be her. I think that Austin is. I mean, it's so funny. Like, I think it's literally in the beginning. He's just like, I love these people. We're family. It's like, girl, you've been with these people 3 days. Calm down. I think Austin is hilarious only because he's so different. And on this season, with like so many horrible, horrible people, Austin is just such a reverse of that, where he's like so constantly genuine and just like, I love the people I'm with. It's like, why? What about them is like, yes, I've got to stick with these people. Like, they do not share this at all. I did think at some points it's like Austin was just basically there to be Sabu Sabu, and it was like irritating because you're like, if Austin played this more strategically, you could see bigger flips. But it was always like, Austin, what are you going to do this week? Well, I've got to stick with my family. We're related by blood. It's like, no, you're not. Chill out, dude. Like when he was like fear. I don't remember. I think it was when Aliza was voted off or someone else. He started. He was like furious. He's like, how dare you do this? It's like, chill the fuck out. You were not on a good spot. I think Austin's great as a character, but goddamn, did he annoy me?
But he was really great as an ally.
Oh, he would probably be the best ally.
The best ally, yeah.
I'd take Austin the final 2, no question.
Same.
Was that your ideal final 2, Elisa?
Yeah, I was so down for that.
I think that would be a jury sweep, honestly. I think that's all votes go to Aliza, not gonna lie.
One thing I'm curious about, Elisa, is down the stretch, would you have stuck with Will or at some point like cut Will? Or would you have felt comfortable taking Will to a potential final 3? Because at that point you guys didn't know it was like what was your long-term plan kind of with all of this?
I would have, like, my ideal situation was to have gone with Sabu Sabu, although I didn't think that was realistic at all. So I was kind of planning on maybe that I would have to like cut a person or 2 along the way. Will and I like were super, super tight, and I would have wanted to take him really far. I don't think I necessarily realized how other people perceived him in the game, maybe. And from my perspective, he was this huge threat that was playing a great game. So I don't think I would have wanted to sit next to him like at Final Tribal Council, but I would have like wanted to take him pretty far. Like in my mind at the time, like I was like, I would have to cut Will at 5 or 4. And I don't know, like if I was sitting with him at Final Tribal Council, if I would have won or lost. So because of that, I thought I could win against a Sabu Sabu potentially. And so I would have preferred to have gone against one of them.
I have a question for both of you. If it's a final 3 and Erin's there with you two because she won the challenge to get to the final 3, it's Devin, Erin, Dylan. Aliza, from the jury perspective, would Erin have won that? What do you think it would have been? And Dylan, if that had been the final 3, what do you think your chances are of winning?
I think Erin wins.
I think Erin, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I feel like Erin would probably have a really good shot though, because Erin, I think everyone like really appreciated Erin's like underdog story and her like come from behind and her big move with her idol and whatnot. So I feel like she would have had a really good chance.
I think off the bat, Erin in that situation has Emily P, Will, Brady, Cassie, and probably I'm forgetting somebody. Ben. I think she probably has all 5 of those people in that situation, which is probably
I think Erin's did pretty good. I think like I did a pretty good job of like with my jury questions and like making a case. So like I feel like I could give a good case, but in the end, I don't see Erin not winning that final 3. I think I can maybe swing maybe a couple votes, maybe with like some sort of like good question answering, some sort of pizzazz, but I still think Erin wins that final 3.
Yeah, I feel like we all had an immense amount of respect for Erin and her game. So it would have been tricky. I would have had to give her my pride, but yeah.
Andrew never got to answer who he liked in this season.
Oh,
okay. Honestly, I thought pre-merge I was a big fan of Chloe and Jesse. I thought they were both goofy characters. I'm sorry, Anders. I'm sorry. I thought they were goofy. Also, Chloe, I just thought was, she was fun. I liked her Regina George bit after the double tribal. And then for the merge, I thought Emily B was sort of an underappreciated Sabu Sabu member. I felt like the other 3 Sabu Sabus had kind of like a bigger, more grandiose edit to them, and Emily B was a little quieter. So I don't know. I feel like I've expressed my opinions quite a bit on the characters that are good and bad. Aliza and Dylan, I love the both of you guys. So honestly, just like a very high tier season. I actually, going off that, I guess I do have a question to all of you guys. I guess in the moment and immediately following your season, did you like think this was going to be like such a highly appreciated college version? Because I feel like all the comments I've read and my own opinion is that this is like the upper echelon of college Survivor, and there's a lot of series going on right now, and I feel like this has really hit like a top level.
I'll go comment on that real quickly. In that, I remember at the beginning of this editing process, I think this was almost a year ago. Cooper said in one of our Google Doc things, if we do season 3 right, it will be our best one. And I remember being like, I don't know about that, thinking about all the other ones, thinking about the ones that are going to come, knowing there's a lot of good stuff. And then when I was editing it, I remember being like, no, I think he's right, that this has the potential to be something really, really special. So that was at least where I was on that.
Yep. I will second that. I think as season 3 was like ending and we like understood what kind of season had like played out in the cast we had, I think it was widely thought from production at least that, like Ian said, this could easily be our best season to date. Like, should we do it right? Should we edit it right? So yeah.
Yeah, from a player's perspective, I feel like we all felt very proud of how the season had turned out and the kind of craziness that had unfolded along the way, and like how each of us had played. So I think that we were hoping it would turn out to be a good season. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just knowing I was a part of a couple of crazy tribal councils, and I was like, this is enough to make it a crazy season. I mean, speaking to the one where Aliza and Devin made their fake idols, and it pisses me off to this day because I hadn't watched enough Survivor to know that that is legal to do like fake idols and stuff. So like,
It's illegal. You'll get arrested.
I read their like their fake like idol page. I looked at them and like reading it over, I was just like, there's no way that this isn't real. And like not knowing like this could like be a possibility, and I talked to them after, and like I think that was in the season. I thought that was like amazing. I thought that was like one of the greatest plays I've seen, because they duped the hell out of all of us and still brought out Ben's idol, and Aliza used her idol so strategically, so well. And like I could have gone home that week. Like I've been asked that question before. And something like I think like the Devin like and like respect for like each other's game kind of started that week, because I messaged both of them after that tribal council. I was like, that was amazing. Like that was really good. And that was just genuine respect. And like I made the group chat. I said that was really good, and I left because I didn't want it to be like a strategic move for me, like trying to flounder, like trying to be like, yo, like you guys made a good move, I got to join your side. I just wanted to tell them like that was just like a crazy thing that they did. And I knew that tribal council was going to be crazy. And then like the other Savu Savu one that went to Rocks, just knowing like being a part of both of those tribal councils and knowing like how much drama was involved with both of them and how long they lasted, like I could feel a sense of like sensation that like this was going to be a good season.
Going along with that a little bit, we have a question from the crowd for Cooper. Would you have done better or worse on this season than you did on yours? Do you think that you came up against
Cooper wins? There's no question.
Do you think you came up against better players on your own season, or would Aliza, Dylan, Will, Emily, Aaron, all the rest who just run circles around you?
That's a tough question. That's also a question from your brother, for those who don't know. I still stand by that. I think there were more like strategic, like I don't want to call them more like game bots, but like people who were very like always thinking about every single move. I think there were more Wills on my season, actually, even though they didn't like come out or be shown like that. I think basically everyone that was in like Final 7 was like planning every single snap, just how Will was. where I think a lot of the season 3 people were more bigger personalities, and I think some of them were more strategic in like planning it out. But I don't know which one I would have fared better on, because both are completely viable strategies like to do. I would say there were better social players in 3, and I would say there were probably overall better strategic players on season 1. So it's
It sounds like you're copping out a bit, but that's all right. This question was for me, but I thought it was interesting. What made you decide how you were going to edit Dylan? We actually have gotten this a few times because obviously there's the whole Dylan sound bites, which we put in a bunch of the episodes. And the truth is that it was kind of an accident that it happened, but a good accident, which is that Dylan filmed almost nothing for the first like 4 episodes. And so when I was going through it, when we were editing like episode 4, I came across all these Dylan soundbite clips, and I was like, it'd be really funny if we put these throughout all the episodes and we kind of just sprinkle them in as like cutaway gags, and that'll hopefully be funny. And it'll get you kind of endeared to Dylan before it becomes important, because we knew he becomes important at the merge, but in the pre-merge, he just has all these confessionals where he's just goofing around. So we're like, let's spread that out over 3 or 4 episodes, really milk the content from these Dylan goofy confessionals. And then once we get to the merge, we'll start giving you all the Dylan, serious confessionals. I think it was like 2 or 3 episodes before you had any Dylan confessional where he talked about the game and wasn't just goofing around. But
my confessionals speak to my game. Like, I didn't know what was happening at the beginning because I didn't watch enough Survivor to know like confessionals are pretty important to the show. And I also didn't know that like cross-drive relationships were that important to the show at the beginning. And so, I mean, like, the amount of content at the beginning kind of speaks to the type of game I was playing at the beginning, just super under the radar, trying to figure out what I should be doing.
I want to hop back really quick. Dylan, I think it might have been shown on the show, I can't remember, but when you texted us and texted Devin and I and said like good move or whatever, we literally leapt into the air. Like we were sitting on the ground and we fully leapt up and we're like, oh my God, we're going to swing Dylan. Like, we got him. He's going to work with us. Like, we were so excited when that happened.
yeah, I think that was in there. Devin's like, boom, and like jumped up and
left up on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't end up working after that. And then like kind of what I said before, it was just like a super like clap on the back. Like, it was a really good move, but I still feel like I had to keep going with the same crew that I was doing it with.
Yeah, that was the most stressful night of my life. So
I was so surprised during this entire season how much the original tribes were the alliances. Like, it was so strange to me because usually when you have a 6-person tribe, you have like early groups form. But in this one, it's like, no, it's a 6-person alliance. It's all one tribe, and we're going to work with another tribe. And then it was like, even at the merge, people didn't really spread out. It makes sense why players like Austin didn't spread out, because he had his family. He can't get a new family now. But like, it just was so strange to me that it's like Dylan and Devin and then Aaron and Brady were like really the only cross-tribal alliances that stuck around for that long, that weren't like the entirety of those tribes staying together. Why was it that you guys weren't branching out? Like, Dylan, why didn't you want to create an alliance with Aliza and Devin that was just you 3 and not Dylan's now a part of Savu Savu? Like, get over it. Make alliances outside of the tribes.
I think a little bit was like, I didn't understand like when merge is supposed to happen, or like when like all of a sudden we're going to be together. And I'm like, if I like reach out there and for some reason like they go back to my tribe and they're like, hey, Dylan reached out, like, you should get him out. Like, he's trying to like create other alliances. Like, I didn't want to take a risk for something that I didn't completely understand, I guess, in that circumstance. And I still felt like, what was it, 1 or 2 travels before that, all of Tafiti stuck together, even though we knew like we were split almost in half, like, which was an absolutely insane thing that we all stuck together for tribal, even though we knew that it was like me and Sarah, it was Brady and Chloe, and Cassie was playing the middle at the time, and we all stuck together for some reason, whereas Savu Savu was almost completely joined together and willing to go to rocks. And like, I would say like that was the best case scenario. We thought Andrew going home was the best case scenario, and it ended up happening. And so I was like, things are working out. It was like one of those things where it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's where the point where like my pre-merge, like kind of what I talked about earlier, like what could have been better at Final Tribal Council, like my pre-merge wasn't as good as it could have been because I was still trying to understand like how to play the game at that point.
We've got some questions about that tribal actually here. Aliza, did you have any thoughts about playing your idol at the Rock Draw Tribal? This is something a bunch of people have wondered about. You and Brady both sat there with the idols at Tribal. Pretty bold.
I think not once ever did it cross my mind to play the idol. Like, I know, like, I saw that in the comments too. A ton of people were like, should have played our idol. But I had no idea who they were voting for. Like, I had absolutely no idea who Tafiti was going to vote for. And because of that, I didn't want to waste my idol. And also, I figured I had a 1 in 8 chance of going home. I was willing to take those odds, knowing that the next week I was going to be like, I knew that Tafiti and Tormenta were very, very closely aligned. And I figured if I were to get through on these odds, I'm going to need my idol next week. And so that is 100% why I sat on it. And like I clearly did. I needed it. I would have gone home. So, and I think Brady was the same. He's like, like the odds were 1 in 8. Like they were good enough to take the chance. And I don't think either of us were too confident in who the other type was going to vote for. So it honestly didn't even cross my mind to play it.
Dylan, did you see the second question here?
Yeah. So I don't think it got showed in the edit, but Andrew and I did meet, and he did push his case. Honestly, like Andrew's my dog. I love Andrew. Like we're he's my dude. Anyways, my first meeting with Andrew. Also, he lived across the street from Cooper, so like literally across the street from where I am now. I go in to his house. He pulls up a chair for me at his kitchen table, and he just pulls out a Rolling Rock for me to drink. Like at the time, I'm a sophomore at the time, whatever. He's just like, hey, let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the game. And had a phenomenal conversation with Andrew at the time. Obviously, like I thought like him trying to get me to flip, like I was super worried about this guy. He's a meat castle. Like this dude is gonna be a threat at some point. Like he's trying to get me to flip, but I had a great like meeting with him. I thought he was a chiller, and I mean, obviously you saw the Rock Tribal. It didn't sway me at all. So everyone from each tribe wasn't being swayed. Obviously, like I think it was that same tribal, Elisa. I met with you that tribal. I don't even know if that got shown on camera either. And like we had a decent meeting in a coffee house, and neither of us got anywhere with that conversation. So everyone was pretty close. Also, to speak to Devin, this also didn't get shown, but Devin's diagram was kind of talked about between everyone in our season. I don't think that was shown. He had a very strategic whiteboard diagram about how Sarah and I should flip, and like how intricately it was like a web. It was like a web with a lot of math. It really didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, to be quite honest with you. And I had a lot of respect for that. I mean, like I didn't know what was going on, but I thought it was like a decent move to try to get us to flip. And that also kind of spoke to like some of more Devin's personality that I didn't think that got shown, but like it was a very funny thing. It was a meeting with like Aliza, Devin, Emily B, maybe Austin. Like it was most of Savu, and then just me and Sarah. And like we were almost like how Austin said he was getting cornered at the party. Like Sarah and I were like getting cornered in a raw study room, trying to get us to flip on like Cassie or Brady or something like that. I think I'm going off on a tangent here, but I think I've said.
Yeah, we got a question.
The answer is no.
Yeah, no, it didn't
question
work.
here from Jacob. If you had to choose one pre-merge boot, we can do this for everybody actually. If you had to choose one pre-merge boot to replace someone in the merge, who would it be and who would they replace?
Emily L.
Who would she replace?
Emily P.
Oh, that is a hot take.
Get out of here.
That is a hot take, Anders. Andrew, what about you?
I think Chloe would have been fun to see try to wreak some havoc in the merge. Honestly, maybe would have replaced her with with Austin, or replace Austin with Chloe. I don't know. I thought she was a super fun character, and she had enough of Will's bullshit, and so maybe it could have been Ben versus Will versus Chloe, like a 3-person type of deal.
Chloe's
But
not
yeah,
about
I think
to
Chloe would have been
gather
pretty
her
fun.
side together. Someone else is going to do it for her. It wasn't Chloe and Brady. It was Brady and then Chloe.
And then Chloe, but she was a great character. I thought she was so fun to watch, and she had funny confessionals. And I just love
Aliza
characters.
and Dylan,
honestly.
what do you think about this one?
Easy Andrew. Like, I don't know who I'd replace him with. Like, anyone who I wasn't tightly aligned with, like, easy Andrew.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry. Like, I mean, it's hindsight now because I love the dude, but non-strategically, of course, I absolutely did not want him in the game at all. Like, he was a big threat. I did not want him in the game, but I love the guy, so I think it would have made an excellent entertainment value if Andrew's still in the game. If not Andrew, Richard for sure would have made some very great entertainment. Like, oh my God, that dude would have just.
What a king.
I don't know what would have happened if Richard made the merge, like,
or one tribal.
Or one tribal. I don't even know.
Cooper, the perennial question.
Or boyfriend. Ben also asked.
Either one.
No, I did not. It was tough. The closest I got was Ben, I think. Yeah, it was a tough season. What can I say?
Another question we have is, Dylan, if you didn't steal Brady's idol, what happens at that tribal? I think you were kind of always planning to steal it, though, right?
Yeah, there was no scenario where I didn't steal that, really. I know on the show it kind of seemed like Elisa's blackmail worked, but I know, like, behind the scenes I was going to steal anyway. So, like, it made it seem like Elisa's, like, blackmail, like, worked out, and I wanted Brady to go home. Obviously, like, people knew that because I tried voting him out, like, the week or two before that, where so there really wasn't a scenario where that works. But I guess if it does, like, obviously I voted for Elisa that week, so I was going to vote for Elisa again. But I don't know Elisa, who would you guys have voted for if Brady does have immunity that week then?
We were voting for Cassie. Also, I want to chime in and just say that I honestly did not mean that as blackmail. Like, it honestly was like, this is Dylan's best move, and it would work out really nicely for me. Like, I meant it as, like, I think you should do it because the reasons why you ended up doing it. Like, you clearly agreed, Yeah,
I understand now, and like, that it wasn't actually blackmail. So for everyone out there, like, I know it wasn't actually blackmail now at this point, but in the moment I was like, what? Do they think I'm just gonna sit back and let this happen?
No, yeah, that's totally.
So the last question we had on our survey at the end of the finale was, besides Matthew, who else would you want to see come back for season 4 if they were to return to the show? So let's go with Anders, Andrew. You can talk about people from season 3 or the other seasons 1 and 2 if you've seen those, or if you haven't seen those, you can stick to season 3. Who else would you like to see most come back?
I'd like to see Andrew come back. I think that he got really a raw deal this season. I think that Erin would be great to have back when she's finally realized, oh, hey, maybe I should play this game and not trust awful people. I think Brady, I don't know if I'd actually want Brady back. I feel like it would just not work the same. There was a magic there that I don't know if could be repeated. Although I'm always happy to have Brady on my screen.
I think Will for sure is going to be gracing our screen.
Shut the fuck up!
I mean, you got to think he's a grad student. Like, why not give it another go? Might not be at Michigan the following year. Yeah, I would say Will's probably there. Honestly, Aliza we might see. Wouldn't be surprised if we see Aliza. I think Andrew is a great pick as well. Unfortunately, hate to say it, haven't seen seasons 1 and 2, so I can't contribute much to that discussion. I feel horrible to even say that, but I'm gonna watch it soon.
I'd really like to see the Alex back.
Right.
I think they were so fun. They were such an interesting duo, as we know. What Kings? I'd like to see Cooper come back.
Go on
Cooper come back for season 4.
Cooper?
No. I'd love to see George come back. I'd love to see Cooper come back. I'd love to see them fight against each other. I've seen what Cooper plays like. I've never seen what George plays like. I didn't watch season 2. Sorry. Maybe you guys should have had me for a fucking podcast and I would have watched it. So that's on you.
Anders, if you
Victor
had
Valiant? No thanks.
Anders, if you had to pick team Will or team Ben, if you had to pick between the two, who would you pick? Since it seems like your team absolutely neither.
They're both. That's so unfair. They're both awful in their own ways. I mean, like, I guess if I had to pick one over the other, I would pick, I guess, Ben, only because he's gay, and I feel like, that's about the best I can give to him is that he's gay. Therefore, I'll give him a little bit more support than Will. It's just like they both suck. They're both awful people in this show. I'm sure they're nice in real life. I'd hope so at least. But like them and Emily and fucking Jesse, like the 4 of them were just horrible to watch, and they were so mean.
Oh, they were amazing.
Jesse, sweet
amazing.
Jesse.
Are you kidding me?
They're absolutely amazing.
Jesse
I loved all 4 of
irritated me
them.
because in the first episode, she sussed out Will was absolutely using her. And what did she do with that information? She said, "Nah, I'm going to let him use me. Also, I'm going to be mean to Aaron, the only other person on the bottom." Like, and she voted for Aaron and was like, "Aaron, why are you mad at me? Like, what a
She was
bitch."
waiting.
Like,
She was biding her time. She was waiting for the right moment to strike.
she was waiting for nothing. She got voted out. Goodbye.
Hey, none of you guys see our private chat, but Andrew said Ben, Will, Emily, P, Jesse, favorite players. So
He did say that. It was not the opposite of me saying that. So.
No, look, I think they were just like, they weren't a good alliance. They were just bad. I don't know what to tell you.
All right,
The team
Anders,
Ben.
you just manifested it. Ben is going to be returning for season 4. You heard it from Anders here first. Your team Ben.
If
That's what I
Ben
heard.
is back for season 4, I cannot wait for Matthew Israel to just kill him, murder him, bury him.
Oh man, do you think Matthew Israel has the stuff to go far in season 4?
I'm a Matthew Israel king, so of course I'm a stan for him. I was so disappointed when he was taken out in the first season. I think it was the biggest loss of that season. He was the best character. He's a king, and I will take no other answer here. He's winning season 4.
Are you willing to state that right now that Matthew is winning season 4?
I, Anders Norberg, winner of Survivor Anarchy, beating Aaron, claim on my title that Matthew is a winner and he should win.
All right. Well, we'll definitely have to see how that shakes out. Does anybody have anything else they want to add about this season, the past, Survivor Michigan in general? I don't know.
I'll say thanks, Ian, for editing a great season, and Cooper for hosting and producing.
Yeah, same. Thank you guys. But nobody, I don't think everyone, so maybe some people realize, but the editing team put in a lot of work, a lot of hours into editing everything behind the scenes. And so we have to give a lot of props to them. And also the producers, everyone's still dealing with school at the time. I know like the players are also doing the school, but the producers like are taking time out of their days to make sure that this all runs smoothly. So props to everybody who made this happen.
Yeah, lots of love and respect for y'all.
I don't respect any of you. You have a full team and it's just me, baby.
Hey man, it takes a village.
But
Yeah,
I
Anders, I don't know how you and Austin do it. You just like you run your whole season, you edit the whole season, like we.
Look,
could
I'll say
never,
this:
That's
Michigan
not
is
how we roll.
incredible. Michigan's incredible. It really came out of nowhere, and it's been just quality content after quality content, except for Will and Ben, which has been, actually, I think Will and Ben are the Alexes for me this season. Just people I do not want to watch on my screen.
Let's get some plugs in here for the other college survivors that are going on right now, because Survivor Michigan may have ended for now. But we have 2 people here from other college survivors. So would you guys like to talk a little bit each about what you guys have going on right now?
Yeah, sure. I'll briefly go. So Survivor at UVA, University of Virginia, we're currently airing our 4th season. That's because seasons 1, 2, and 3 are not complete. Season 4 was completed. So it's airing now. It's a very fun season. I loved being behind the scenes and watching it happen live. So check it out Wednesdays at 9. It's fun. I like hearing what Cooper and Ian have to say about it. week after week. So yeah, but before I hand it off to Anders as well, I wanted to say that the four of you guys, Ian, Cooper, Aliza, Dylan, you guys all put on a great show. Cooper, great hosting. Ian, great editing, and then Aliza and Dylan, great playing. So honestly, such a fun thing to watch, and I'm glad that I got to talk with you guys tonight.
Well, thanks a lot. It was awesome to have you here, Andrew.
Echoing
Always a
what
pleasure
Andrew
to
said,
talk to you, Andrew.
I can't believe you just did this to me, Cooper. Echoing what Andrew just said, to Ian, incredible job editing this. I mean, I know it's no small feat, and it's truly just a great series. And to Aliza and Dylan, like, if you can make me feel something and it continues to live in my mind rent-free after it's done, that's how I know it's a good season. So yeah, I hate people on it, but at least I feel something. Cooper, you get no credit for me. You get no points. But yes, if you want to watch another series that's coming out weekly, Survivor Maryland Major Conflict is coming out every Monday at 7 p.m. We're about halfway through the season. Merge is going to be coming up soon. It's an incredible season this time. It's season 7. And this season we have it divided by majors. So who's better, STEM or humanities? I'm a humanities major, and that's who I hope wins. It's a great show. Cooper's been on the live show once, and we have Erin as a recurring co-host. Last week, she found out the unfortunate news that the person that she has a crush on already has a girlfriend. So what will happen next time? Who knows?
I will say personally, I've been watching both of these. They're both very entertaining and hold my attention week after week, and I've been enjoying them very much. Although I do have a minor nitpick, which is all these you say it's a humanities tribe, but it's mainly business majors I've found, which I've found quite offensive. As a true humanities major, business majors are not humanities majors, really. Like, you really get me some artists in here, get me some film majors, some history majors.
You know, I also have a similar thing about you guys. You know, it's why is everyone white? No.
Welcome to Michigan. No.
Honestly. Sorry. I know a lot of business majors. It's what happens. Also, there's another thing we should plug. Maybe if you live in the U.S., you might have heard about this. In a couple weeks, there's an election happening. So if you haven't already, vote by mail or vote on November 3rd, because you know what? It's time that we do that. And I'm going to keep bringing it up every live show. But yeah, vote. And especially in Michigan. If you're in Michigan or you're a part of Survivor Michigan and you haven't fucking voted in Michigan, you should.
Look, no one knows better than Survivor players that voting is the most important thing you can do. If you do not vote, you'll have no say about tribal council, no say in who goes home, and no say over who will run the country. So 100% you should vote. There's also a few other things I wanted to plug real quick. Survivor Syracuse premieres tomorrow, so everyone should check that out. I think
you may see a familiar face on that live show too.
Yeah, you may or may not see some of the same people on that show. Tuesday's Survivor Yukon, their 3rd episode aired last night. I think Cooper has been on with them. Is that correct? Yep. And then Survivor Boston is coming out November 5th. So right now you've got Maryland on Mondays, Yukon on Tuesdays, UVA Wednesday, and Syracuse on Thursdays starting tomorrow. So really you can have Survivor every night of the week. What more could a person possibly want? So you should check all those out. Thank you all you guys for coming on. This has been wonderful having you. Awesome to talk to all you guys as always. And, best wishes and good luck.
Before we end it, Dylan has to do the famous line.
Still.
Oh, man. Wow. That was something.
All right, I think I ended the broadcast there. So I think it should end right on
You didn't end it. It's still live.
He did. He did.
Oh, really?
How many times do I have to say it?
I pressed the button that said
Yeah,
Hey, guys. Thanks so much for joining us here at Survivor Michigan. We really appreciate it. And now we're going off the air, right?
Wait,
I can't believe he did that.
I literally pressed the button that said end. Having trouble connecting. Are you telling me it's not going to let me